Princess Alira walked through the long crystal hallway of the palace, her steps soft and slow, as if each one required more strength than she had. The morning light shone through the tall windows, painting silver lines across the floor. The palace was silent, peaceful, beautiful, yet none of it brought her comfort. She had another night without rest, another night where sleep came in pieces, broken moments that left her weaker than before. She had learned to hide her tired eyes behind calm expressions. But today, even that was difficult. Her body felt heavy, her mind foggy, and her heart quietly afraid of what another sleepless night might bring. For years she had struggled like this. Some nights she woke gasping, unsure why. Other nights she simply lay awake, staring at the ceiling, waiting for her mind to settle. But it never did. Her dreams were always unclear, fading the moment she opened her eyes. She felt something inside her calling out, but she did not know what or why. Every healer in the kingdom had tried to help her. Some offered glowing stones meant to calm the mind. Others used soothing melodies that were said to guide a restless spirit into peaceful sleep. Some even tried strange cosmic remedies that had worked for other royal families across the galaxy. But nothing worked for her. Her mother, the queen, tried to stay hopeful, but the concern in her eyes was impossible to hide. The council whispered behind closed doors, wondering if the princess would ever be strong enough to take her place as the next heir. Alira pretended she did not hear these things, but she always did. She heard everything. She simply did not show it. Alira reached the balcony that overlooked the kingdom. Larithis was a beautiful world, full of floating gardens, shining towers, and calm lakes that reflected the golden sky. People admired their princess, believing she was graceful, kind, and full of promise. If only they knew the truth, that she could barely sleep, and that every night drained her more than the one before. She placed her hands on the smooth rail of the balcony and closed her eyes. The morning breeze touched her face gently, but instead of relaxing, she felt a slow ache behind her eyes. It was the same familiar ache that came every morning, a reminder of the night's battle. She tried to take a deep breath, but it trembled. A quiet voice approached from behind. "Your Highness, another difficult night?" It was Lyriel, her closest attendant since childhood. Lyriel stepped beside her. "You should rest today. Cancel your council sessions. No one would be upset. They all understand your condition." Chan. 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 Alira opened her eyes slowly. "I cannot hide forever. They already worry. I must at least appear strong. I must at least appear. I must at least appear strong." Lyriel hesitated, wanting to argue but knowing it was useless. Alira always carried her burdens silently, even when she should not. The palace bell rang in the distance, signaling the arrival of off-world visitors. Alira had nearly forgotten. Her mother had invited several healers from across different planets, hoping that one of them might finally understand what was wrong with her. Alira appreciated the effort, but she held no real hope. She had met so many healers that she no longer expected miracles. Still, she walked toward the main hall, her posture tall even though her body begged for rest. Her royal robes shimmered faintly with each step, and her silver hair fell past her shoulders like soft waves of light. She looked every bit like a strong, serene princess, except for the quiet exhaustion hidden behind her calm expression. When she entered the hall, she saw her mother sitting on the high seat, welcoming the guests. Scholars, healers, energy menders, dream guides, they were all there. Most of them bowed with great respect, but Alira felt the familiar tension in her chest as she realized they were all studying her. They saw her tired eyes. They saw the faint shadows under them. She felt as if she were on display again. One by one, the healers spoke. They offered ideas, theories, or polished words meant to sound wise. But none of them could explain her condition clearly, and Alira could sense their uncertainty. Some thought it was a mental strain. Others believed it was a spiritual imbalance. A few even suggested political pressure, disguised as a health issue. Alira listened quietly, but she already knew what her mother would ask next. "Is there anyone else?" the queen said, hopeful but strained. A servant stepped forward. "A late arrival has been reported, Your Majesty. A volunteer from Earth." A murmur traveled through the hall. Earth was not known for advanced healing or cosmic energy science. Their people were seen as strong, bold, and adaptable, but certainly not specialists in medical mysteries. Alira blinked in surprise. A human volunteer? Why would a simple human come here? The queen looked unsure. "Does he have any experience?" The servant hesitated. "He has a reputation for noticing things others overlook. He asked only for permission to speak with the princess." Some healers scoffed softly, others exchanged doubtful glances. Alira felt a strange curiosity forming inside her. She had met brilliant healers from star worlds with advanced technology. None helped her. Perhaps someone with no complicated tools might see something different. "Send him in," she said before the queen could refuse. The queen glanced at her, surprised but trusting her judgment. "Very well. Bring him." The large doors opened slowly, and a human man walked inside. He was not dressed like a healer or diplomat. He wore simple traveler's clothing, clean but without any luxurious detail. His dark hair was slightly windswept, his expression calm, and his steps steady. He did not seem nervous or eager to impress. He simply walked with natural confidence. He stopped a respectful distance from the royal seats and bowed his head lightly, not deeply, as most visitors did. He showed respect without fear. The court watched him with mixed reactions, some interested, some unimpressed. Alira studied him quietly. He looked ordinary compared to the glowing healers and decorated scholars. Yet there was something steady about him, something grounded. The queen spoke. "State your name." "Ethan Hale," he replied with a clear, even voice. "And your purpose here?" The queen continued. "I heard about the princess's restless nights," Ethan said. "I came because I think I can help." Several healers murmured again. Alira kept her eyes on him. "And how will you help me?" she asked softly. He turned toward her fully, his gaze steady but gentle. "I don't have magic tools or special training. But sometimes the problem isn't in the person, it's in the environment. I want to observe what happens around you during the night." Alira felt a small shift inside her, something like cautious interest. This was the first time anyone had asked to study her surroundings instead of her mind or body. The queen frowned slightly. "Our palace has been checked many times. There is nothing harmful here." End quote. "With respect," Ethan said. "I would like to see for myself." Some healers looked offended by his confidence. But Alira felt something simple and honest in his words. He was not trying to sound superior or wise. He was just stating what he believed. She took a slow breath. "You may observe." Ethan nodded once. "I will stay near your chamber tonight. With your permission. I won't disturb you. I only want to watch and listen." Alira felt no discomfort in the request, only curiosity. Permission granted. The court reacted with surprise, but she did not waver. Something about Ethan's calm presence made her feel not exactly safe, but less alone. The queen leaned close to her. Alira whispered back, "Everyone else has tried everything. Let him try something different." That evening, as the sun dipped below the golden horizon, Alira prepared for bed with a mixture of worry and fragile hope. Ethan sat quietly near her chamber door, respectful and still. He did not speak unless she spoke first. He observed everything, the dim lights, the quiet hum of the walls, the faint breeze from the balcony. Alira tried to rest, closing her eyes slowly. Minutes passed. Then, Elira's breathing changed, the same way it always did when the strange sensation began. Ethan leaned forward slightly, listening closely. And for the first time, someone beside her noticed the faint pulse of energy, deep inside the walls, soft, rhythmic, and wrong. Ethan's eyes narrowed. This was no illness. Something in this palace was disturbing her sleep, and he was going to find out what. Ethan stayed awake through the entire night, his eyes moving carefully around the princess's chamber. He sat in a simple chair near the door, quiet and focused, not allowing even a moment of distraction. Elira tried her best to rest, hoping that maybe this time she would sleep longer. But as the hours passed, her body slowly tensed again. Her fingers twitched, her breathing changed, and a familiar unease filled the room. Ethan noticed every tiny detail. Then he sensed it again, the same energy pulse he had felt earlier. It came softly at first, almost like a distant vibration. He pressed his hand against the wall behind him. The vibration grew stronger for a brief moment, then faded. Elira shifted in her sleep, her brow tightening as if something tugged her mind away from rest. Ethan leaned forward, observing the wall more closely. There was nothing unusual on its surface. It was smooth crystal, just like every other wall in the palace. But behind it, deep within the structure, something was sending out a strange rhythm, a rhythm that only the princess reacted to. He glanced at her again. Her breathing grew uneven. Her eyes moved rapidly under her eyelids, the way they did during uneasy dreams. She murmured softly, but her words were unclear. Ethan stood up slowly and stepped closer to the wall. He placed both palms against it. The pulse returned, and this time, he felt it clearly. He had no tools, no magic devices, but his human senses were sharp. He looked at Elira again. Her fingers curled tightly around her blanket. Her lips trembled. Her chest rose and fell too quickly. If he did nothing, this would continue all night. Ethan moved toward her bedside, careful not to wake her. He reached out and gently touched her wrist, checking her pulse. It was fast. Far too fast for someone resting. He whispered softly, "You're fighting something again." Elira's eyes twitched, but she remained asleep. Ethan didn't want to disturb her, but he needed to know more. He walked quietly around the chamber, listening carefully, searching for the direction from which the energy pulse came. After a few minutes, he noticed something important. The vibration was strongest on the left side of the room, near the floor. He knelt down and brushed his fingers along the base of the wall. There, hidden behind the crystal tiles, he felt a faint hum. He pressed his ear close. The hum deepened for a moment, then faded again. It was rhythmic, steady, almost like a heartbeat, but it did not belong to any living creature. Ethan stood up again and looked at Elira. Her breathing steadied slightly, but she still looked uneasy. "I need to find the source," he whispered to himself. When the sun finally rose and the palace lights brightened, Elira opened her eyes slowly, blinking in confusion. She looked around the room, then at Ethan, who was still standing near the left wall. He hadn't slept at all. "You stayed awake the whole time?" she said softly. "Yes," he replied. Elira sat up, brushing her hair away from her face. Ethan hesitated only for a moment. "There's something wrong with your room. Something inside the wall." Elira studied him, curiosity mixing with concern. "Inside the wall?" He nodded. "There's an energy pulse that comes every few minutes. You react to it each time." Elira frowned. She had never heard of such a thing. "But the palace has been inspected so many times." "Not by a human," Ethan said gently. "Maybe others didn't feel it the way I did." Elira looked down at her hands. "I thought it was just me. I thought I was weak." "You're not weak," Ethan replied without hesitation. "Something is disturbing your sleep. You've been fighting it every night without knowing it." His words carried a simple honesty. And for the first time in a long while, Alira felt a small sense of relief. Someone finally understood that her suffering wasn't a personal failure. A servant entered the room quietly and offered breakfast. Alira thanked them and dismissed them with a gentle smile. When the door closed again, she looked at Ethan. "If something is inside the wall," she said. Ethan thought for a moment. "I need to explore the palace. There might be hidden passages or old rooms we don't know about." Alira nodded. "The palace is ancient. Some areas have been sealed for generations." Ethan gave a small smile. "Then maybe that's where we'll find answers." Alira felt a faint warmth in her chest, a feeling she hadn't known for a long time. Hope. Later that morning, Ethan met with the Queen and the council. They were skeptical at first. A few council members frowned when he spoke. Not out of anger, but out of disbelief. A human finding something that their advanced scholars had missed seemed unlikely. Yet the Queen listened closely. She trusted her daughter's judgment. And she saw something steady in Ethan's eyes. "What do you suggest?" the Queen asked. "I need access to the lower floors," Ethan said. "The old sections of the palace. The energy pulse is coming from somewhere beneath the princess's chamber." A murmur spread through the room. One council member shook his head. "Those chambers are sealed. They were built centuries ago. Some say they're unsafe." "That may be true," Ethan replied calmly. "But something down there is still active, and it's affecting the princess every night." The Queen raised her hand, silencing the council. "Give him access." The council had no choice but to agree. Alira met Ethan later near the entrance to the old palace sections. She wore simple robes now, comfortable and easy to move in. She insisted on joining him, despite his concern for her tiredness. "You should rest," Ethan said softly. She shook her head. "I want to see the truth for myself." He respected her determination and nodded. The entrance to the lower floors was guarded by thick metal doors etched with old symbols. When the guards unlocked them, a cool breeze drifted out almost like a forgotten breath from the past. The hallway beyond was dim and silent. The walls were made of older stone, not the crystal and metal of the main palace. Alira shivered slightly. Ethan walked ahead, his eyes scanning every corner. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling. Dust covered ancient ornaments. Ethan paused suddenly. Alira looked at him. "What is it?" He touched the floor lightly, then placed his palm on the left wall. The hum returned stronger this time. "This is it," he whispered. They followed the vibration toward a large, sealed door. Symbols covered it, faded, but still visible. Ethan stepped closer and brushed the dust away. The symbols formed circles, lines, and patterns Alira recognized from old stories. "This is ancient technology," she said quietly. "From before our kingdom united the star tribes." Ethan searched for a way to open the door. After a moment, he found a small indentation shaped like a hand. Alira placed her hand on it, and the door responded to her royal bloodline. With a heavy rumble, the stone slid open. A dark chamber waited inside. They stepped in carefully. At the center of the room stood a strange device covered in wires and glowing marks. It pulsed gently, sending a wave of energy outward. Alira gasped softly. "That's the same rhythm I feel at night." Ethan circled the device slowly. "This is the source." The device looked old. Very old, yet it was still active. The marks on it showed different tribes that once competed for royal power. Some wanted control. Some wanted the throne for themselves. Alira read the carvings on the wall, her voice trembling. This device was made to weaken the heir, to prevent the heir from connecting with the ancient crown. Ethan looked at her with quiet understanding. "You weren't sick, Alira. You were being drained." Alira felt dizzy for a moment. All her years of suffering were not caused by her own weakness. They were caused by a device hidden beneath her room. Ethan stepped closer to her. "This isn't your fault. You're stronger than anyone realized." Alira's eyes softened. Thank you, for seeing what others couldn't. He nodded gently. Now we know what we're dealing with. The question is, how to shut it down safely. Alira looked at the device again. Whatever it takes, we must stop it. I cannot let it continue. Ethan agreed. But he also knew stopping such a device would not be easy. It was tied to ancient energy and old power struggles. Still, he was determined. He would not let this machine steal another night from her, and he would not let her face this danger alone. Ethan and Alira stood silently in the old chamber, both staring at the ancient device pulsing gently in the center. The soft, rhythmic glow filled the dark room, casting moving shadows on the stone walls. The pulse grew stronger with each cycle, almost as if it had sensed their presence. Alira felt a familiar pressure in her chest, the same tightness she often felt before her restless nights. Ethan stepped slightly in front of her, watching the device with narrowed eyes. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The air felt heavy, thick with old energy and forgotten secrets. Finally, Alira broke the silence. This device has been under my feet all my life, she whispered. Every night, I suffered. It was because of this. Ethan looked at her softly. And you kept thinking you were weak. Alira lowered her gaze. Yes. I never imagined something like this existed. Ethan walked around the device slowly, studying every angle. He noticed wires twisted into the walls, long metal roots reaching deep into the floor. The device looked stable, but the pulse felt unnatural like a forced heartbeat. Ethan touched the wall nearest to the machine. The humming vibration traveled through his hand and up his arm. This wasn't made to harm living things directly, Ethan said. It was made to disturb the mind, to unsettle the air. Alira walked closer, reading more of the ancient symbols carved into the surrounding stone. Some she understood. Some were too old to translate. It says here, the device was built by those who feared the strength of future rulers. They believed that if the air was never fully rested, they would never connect with the ancient crown. She touched the wall gently, tracing one of the carvings. The crown responds only to a clear and focused mind. A tired mind cannot bond with it. Ethan turned to her. So this device was made to make sure no heir ever had a clear mind. Alira nodded, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the machine. Yes. And no one knew. Generations passed, and the story became a forgotten legend. But the device kept working. And storing this round. Elliptis storing past. Ethan clenched his jaw slightly. Someone wanted to control your kingdom. For a very long time. 1. Alira inhaled slowly, trying to steady her emotions. She felt anger, sadness, confusion, and relief all at once. Relief that her suffering had a reason. Relief that she had not failed simply by being herself. Relief that somebody Ethan finally saw the truth. What should we do now? She asked quietly. Ethan studied the machine again. If we destroy it suddenly, the energy might explode outward. The pulse could grow stronger and hurt you. Or worse, it could affect the whole palace. Alira felt a shiver run through her. We cannot risk that. No, Ethan agreed. We need to disable it. Slowly. Alira looked at him, surprised. Do you know how? Ethan hesitated. Not exactly, but I know enough about machines to understand pressure and rhythm. Alira tilted her head slightly. Explain. Ethan walked closer to the machine and placed his palms gently on its surface. The pulse traveled through his hands like a slow wave. This device works like a rhythm. It sends a signal at the same time every few moments. Your mind picks up the rhythm, even when you're asleep. That's why your dreams feel strange. Number 4. Alira listened quietly. If I can interrupt the rhythm, Ethan continued, the device might weaken. It might shut down on its own. Alira stepped forward, her voice worried. But if it reacts to the air, then it will react strongly to me. Yes. Ethan's expression softened. That's why you shouldn't go near it. Alira blinked. But you can? Yes. Ethan nodded. Because I'm human. The device wasn't designed to target me. I'm an unknown element to it. Alira felt a strange fear rise in her chest. It was not fear of the machine, it was fear of him being harmed. Ethan, it might still be dangerous. Ethan gave a small smile. Everything down here is dangerous. But I won't let anything happen to you. Crime. Alira looked away for a moment, her heart tightening in an unfamiliar way. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No healer, no scholar, no guard had ever shown such simple, steady concern. She turned back to him. Let me help. You already have, he said gently. You opened the door. You showed me the history. But I need you to stay back when I work. Alira opened her mouth to argue, but stopped when she saw the calm determination in his eyes. Very well, she whispered. But I will stay in this room. I will not leave you alone. Ethan nodded. I'm okay with that. He moved toward the device again, studying the patterns of light traveling across its surface. Each pulse rolled out smoothly, then faded, then rolled out again. He placed his hand over the glowing center, timing the rhythm. Alira watched him carefully. She was surprised by how fearless he seemed, standing so close to something that had harmed her for years. Tell me what you feel, she said softly. Ethan closed his eyes. The pulse is steady. It's not trying to push me away. It's only reacting to energy around it. But when you move closer, the pulse becomes sharper. Alira stepped back immediately. Then, I'll stay here. Ethan began tapping his fingers lightly on the machine, matching the rhythm. He listened to the pulse for several minutes. His expression focused. Alira had never seen someone so patient, so completely present in a moment. What are you doing? She asked quietly. I'm learning its pattern. Ethan replied. Machines like this follow a specific order. If I find the weakest point in the rhythm, I can interrupt it. Alira watched him with growing curiosity. Humans were known for their adaptability, but she had never realized how valuable that could be. He continued tapping, adjusting his timing. The machine responded slightly, its glow flickered. Alira gasped softly. Ethan? It reacted. Yes, he said calmly. I'm getting close. If I can disrupt its timing a little more, it should slow down. He tapped again, slightly offbeat. The machine pulsed unevenly for a moment, then returned to normal. Almost, Ethan whispered. Alira stepped forward instinctively, but stopped herself before she got too close. Should I do something? Yes, Ethan said without looking back. Talk to me. Keep me aware of changes. Alira nodded. The light on the left side just brightened slightly. Be careful. Ethan moved his hand toward the left side. Good. That means this part is sensitive. In a port. Low. He tapped gently, waiting for the pulse. The machine flickered again. Alira held her breath. Ethan pressed both hands on the machine and slowly synced his heartbeat with the rhythm. He had learned long ago to steady his breathing in tense moments. He used the same skill now. The machine is trying to read my rhythm, he said. I need to keep my heartbeat calm. Alira felt a strange flutter in her chest. She admired his focus, his courage, his steady presence. Even in front of an ancient device built to disturb royal minds, he was calm. Minutes passed. Ethan continued adjusting the rhythm until finally, the machine's glow shifted. The pulse weakened slightly. Alira could feel it in the air, the pressure on her chest eased. You did something, she said softly. Not enough yet, Ethan replied. But it's working. Alira stepped closer, stopping at the safe distance he had marked earlier. No pain, Ethan said. Just pressure. Like someone pushing back when I push. Alira nodded. That means the device is resisting you. It senses you're interfering. Ethan smiled faintly. Then it knows it's losing. He pressed his palms firmly against the glowing center again. This time he pushed harder, not physically but rhythmically matching the machine's pulse, then shifting it, then breaking it, moment by moment. A sharp flicker passed across the machine. Alira gasped. Ethan, the glow is fading. Ethan exhaled slowly. Good. That means its power is weakening. But suddenly the machine pulsed stronger, almost angrily. A wave of energy burst outward. Alira stumbled back, gripping the wall. Ethan held his ground, pressing both hands forward. It's trying to stabilize. Alira called out from behind her hands. Be careful. Ethan gritted his teeth but remained steady. I can handle it. The pulsating wave hit him again. Alira panicked. Ethan, step back. You'll get hurt. He shook his head. No. If I step back now, it might reset. I need to keep pushing. Alira's chest tightened. She wanted to rush to him, but she knew her presence would worsen the machine's reaction. She clenched her fists. Ethan, you don't have to. Yes. I do, he said, voice firm. For you. Alira's breath caught in her throat. The room shook slightly. Ethan pushed harder, disrupting the rhythm again. The machine's glow dimmed further. The pulse weakened. Then, finally, the machine gave a long, low hum and fell silent. A soft quiet filled the chamber. The pulse was gone. Alira stared at the machine in disbelief. Ethan, you did it. Ethan stepped back slowly, breathing hard, but unhurt. It's not fully shut down, but it's weakened. And now, we know how to stop it completely. Alira walked toward him, her eyes full of relief and gratitude. You changed something today. Something no one else could. Ethan met her gaze gently. We're not finished yet, but we're close. Alira felt something warm bloom in her chest. For the first time in her life, she was not afraid of the coming night. And she knew deep in her heart that Ethan was the reason. The chamber fell into a deep silence after the ancient device weakened, as if the air itself paused to breathe. Alira stood still for a long moment, her heart filled with disbelief and relief. Ethan stepped back from the dimmed machine, breathing slowly, wiping light sweat from his forehead. Even in the dim glow of the underground room, he looked steady and focused, as if he had not just forced an ancient mechanism to bow to his will. Alira moved closer, but she stopped a few steps away, still remembering how the machine reacted strongly to her presence. Are you hurt? She asked softly. Ethan shook his head. Just tired, but fine. She watched him carefully, noticing the calm in his eyes even after all the tension. He was unlike anyone she had ever met. Others had always spoken to her with fear, pressure, or admiration. Ethan spoke plainly, softly, honestly, and he acted without hesitation when she needed help. Alira took a slow breath. You weakened the device. That alone is more than anyone has done. Ethan turned back toward the machine. It's only weakened. If we leave it like this, it might recover. It might start pulsing again. Alira felt a chill. I cannot go back to that. Ethan faced her again. You won't. We're shutting it down for good. Alira stepped closer to the glowing platform surrounding the machine. But how? If destroying it suddenly is dangerous, what can we do? Ethan walked around the device once more, studying each darkened part. The glow was faint now, barely flickering, but the metal roots connected to the walls were still alive with weak energy. This machine listens to rhythm, he said. It needs a pattern to stay alive. If I break that pattern completely, it will shut down without exploding. Alira watched him carefully. How will you do that? Ethan placed his hand on the metal surface again, feeling the weak pulse moving through it. I'll disrupt its rhythm until it stops responding. But I need to reach its core. Alira looked at the glowing center of the device. The core is inside? Yes, Ethan replied. And if I touch it directly, it might react unpredictably. I need to be careful. Alira bit her lip gently. I don't want you to risk too much. Ethan smiled softly. You already risked more than anyone. This is my turn. Her face warmed slightly, though she tried to hide it. She had never met someone who chose to share her burden so willingly. Someone who stood by her, without expecting anything in return. Alira stepped back to the safe point he had marked earlier. I trust you. Ethan nodded once, then rolled up the sleeves of his simple shirt. The faint light caught on his hands as he prepared himself. He took a deep breath and placed his palms firmly on the center of the machine. Immediately, the weak pulse fought back, trying to push him away. Ethan steadied his breath, grounding himself. He matched the rhythm again, then shifted it sharply. The machine flickered. Sparks of energy crawled up the roots in the walls. Alira clenched her hands together. Ethan, it's reacting. I know, he said calmly. He kept pushing, adjusting his timing, breaking the pattern again and again, until finally the pulse grew uneven. The machine hummed, struggling to stabilize. The chamber trembled softly, dust falling from the ceiling. Alira stepped forward instinctively. Ethan, stay back, he called. It's trying to resist. I need to hold it steady. Alira's heart pounded. She could see the tension in his shoulders, the force he was fighting. He didn't look afraid, but she could see how much focus it required. The machine pulsed again sharp, louder this time. Ethan flinched slightly but did not step away. Talk to me, he said through clenched teeth. Tell me what the light is doing. Alira forced herself to breathe and focused on observing the device. The glow is flickering faster on the right side. It looks unstable. This right. Ethan moved his hand slowly to the right, matching the flicker. Good. That tells me where the core is reacting. He pressed harder. The chamber shook again. Alira felt panic rise. Ethan, this is too dangerous. It's okay, he said, voice firm. I'm not letting this thing control your life anymore. Her breath caught. No one had ever said something like that to her so direct, so personal, so protective. Another pulse hit Ethan, stronger than the last. He gasped softly, but did not move. Alira took a step forward out of pure fear. But Ethan quickly raised a hand toward her, without turning around. Stay there, he insisted. If you get too close, the machine will grow stronger. It was designed for your energy. Alira froze, torn between wanting to help and knowing she could only make things worse. Ethan pushed again, this time deeper, reaching for the core beneath the smooth metal. The machine's flickering sped up, each flash sending shadows dancing around the walls. A deep, low hum filled the room. The machine was resisting fiercely now. Ethan closed his eyes and focused on the rhythm. He blocked out the noise, the shaking, the energy pushing against him. He imagined the pulse as a melody and broke it with his own steady heartbeat. Slowly, inch by inch, he forced the rhythm to change. Alira watched in silent awe. She could feel the pressure in the air changing. The energy that once disturbed her sleep now felt unsteady, confused, weakened. Ethan pushed again. Another flicker, another hum. Then the pulse cracked. The machine's glow burst brightly for a moment, then dimmed sharply. A deep cracking sound echoed through the chamber. He held on, pushing harder, breaking the rhythm completely. And then, the machine fell silent. The glow vanished. The pulse stopped. Ethan staggered back, breathing hard. Alira rushed forward, reaching him just as he steadied himself. "Are you all right?" she asked, her voice shaking. Ethan nodded slowly. "Yes. I think that did it." Alira turned toward the device. Its metal surface was dull now, lifeless. The ancient carvings around it stopped glowing. The air felt different, not heavy, not tense. Peaceful. "It's over," Alira whispered. Ethan leaned against the wall for a moment, catching his breath. "It won't bother you again. The rhythm is gone." Alira touched his arm gently. "You saved me." Ethan shook his head softly. "I helped. But you faced it too." Alira felt her chest warm again. She held his arm a moment longer before letting go. They walked out of the chamber together. On the way up the old stairs, the air felt lighter, the shadows less threatening. When they reached the main halls, the palace seemed brighter. Everything felt different. That night, for the first time in her life, Princess Alira slept deeply. No pulses woke her. No dreams disturbed her. The silent rhythm of peace flowed through her mind. When she opened her eyes the next morning, she felt rested, truly rested. She sat up slowly, amazed. Her room felt warm and calm. She stretched her hands and felt no trembling. She stood and looked out at the glowing sky with clear eyes. Ethan waited in the hall outside, leaning calmly against the wall. When he saw her step out, his expression softened. "You slept," he said gently. Alira nodded, smiling softly. "Yes, I slept." Ethan's smile grew, small but sincere. "Good." The Queen soon learned what had happened. The council gathered to hear the full story. Many were shocked, some embarrassed, some grateful. Ethan was honored before the entire palace, but Alira stayed close, watching him with quiet pride. After the ceremony, Alira stood beside him on a high balcony overlooking the kingdom. The light breeze touched her hair gently. "You changed everything," she said quietly. Ethan shook his head. "You changed it. I only helped you see what was hidden." Alira turned to him, her eyes warm. "No. You saw what no one else did. You believed me when no one understood. And you risked yourself for me." Ethan held her gaze for a long, calm moment. "You deserved peace." Alira's heart softened. She had never heard such simple, sincere words spoken to her. She stepped closer, her voice gentle. "I will never forget what you did." Ethan nodded lightly. "And I'll always be here if you need me." For the first time in her life, Alira felt her future was clear. Not heavy, not uncertain, clear and bright, like the morning sky. Her restless nights were gone forever, and the man who ended them stood beside her, steady as ever.